Hello, it is Krystalracquel and I am back again with another video. Today is day 11 of 21 videos in a row and I'm so excited. I have made it beyond the halfway mark, so day 11. Today's video was actually a requested video, and this individual wanted to know about dating men who have children 5 years or younger. So pretty much this person has heard that it's not too good to date men when they have children who are 5 years or below, very young children. So I wanted to speak to that. When it comes to dating an individual, whether man or woman, it does depend, but it does make a difference if you're going to date someone who has children. So from the woman's perspective, if that man has a child that's 5 years or younger, I'm going to stick to that number since that's what the person with the question mentioned. It's going to depend first on your age, and granted, once again, it does depend on whether you're a woman or a man. Speaking from the woman's perspective, it depends on your age. So if you are a woman, first of all, let's say you're a woman and you have children, the type of man that you should probably be dating, or that you would probably be a good fit for, is also a man who may have a child or children like you do. However, let's say you are a woman of a certain age. Let's say you are 45 years old and you're dating, and then you have a stipulation that you do not want to date a man that has children, but you're also looking to date a man who's your age or around your age or a little bit older. I would say that's not realistic. Yes, you don't have any children. However, you may be blocking your blessing in terms of meeting a nice man, since it's not so common that a man 45 and above is not going to have kids. However, let's say you are a single young lady. Let's say you're in your mid-20s, you're 30, and you don't have any children of your own, and you're holding out for a man who also has no children, and you've never been married. You're holding out for a man who has never been married as well. That is okay. You can proceed with that rule for yourself. However, once again, if you have your own children, I don't think that's really fair or realistic that you would cut out men who also have a child. Of course, everyone has their own preference, but let's be realistic. The same way you are looking for a man who would accept you and your children, and I can speak about that in the future a little bit more too, just in terms of what it's like and what you should be doing in terms of bringing people into your life and that sort of thing when you have your own child as a woman. But if you have your own children, then you should be open to being with a man who also has children. So the same way you hope that a man will accept you and your child or children is the same way you should also be open, because you're in that same situation. You are, you had a child. Let's say you were married before and you divorced, or you were in a relationship that produced a child. You should still be open to that other individual as well. And in terms of the age of the child for a man that you're dating, let's say you are in that category, you're someone who is maybe in your 40s and potentially going to date someone who has a child, or let's say you have children of your own, regardless of your age. Let's go back to what the person who had the question mentioned in terms of age. So if a man is recently out of a relationship, or if he has a small child, that is probably not a indicator that you should be dating him. Let's say his child is some months old. I know it's crazy that I have to mention this, but I do. Let's say the child is 1 year old, 2 years old, even 3-year-old. Keep in mind, regardless of the first thought that may come to your mind in terms of, okay, he's probably going to be around the mother of the child unless she's passed away. outside of that, let's just think about the best case scenario. A lot of times when women have found a candidate for dating or someone that they are interested in, they let common sense go out the window. And I bring that up to say, imagine that there is a child, and imagine that this child needs love, care, affection from both of their parents. And I think you should just take yourself out of the equation in terms of your needs and wants and just look at it as if you're an outsider. If there's a child, the best case scenario is that they have a relationship with both of their parents. And once somebody has a child with someone, you need to understand that there is that relationship, and that man should want to be in their child's life. That man should make effort to be in that child's life. And let's say you are interested in that man, you went on a date with him, or you've been eyeing him and he's someone that you'd be interested in, you need to think to yourself, is this woman trying to get back with this man? Does she want to be with him again? And I would say if that's the case, you need to step back and leave him alone, because that is a young child that's involved. If you're in the picture, or maybe someone else may be in the picture, if it's not you, it'll be someone else, but you need to just step aside, just recognize that this is a small child. That woman, let's say you were in that situation and you wanted to make your family work, mind you, whether they were married or they never got married, or they were just in a relationship and it didn't work out, just step back. I would say mind your business. That's a small child. Let the woman and the man try to figure it out, and just step back. That's too complicated for you anyway. That child is small, and I would say that's very selfish of you, because there's so many different men out here. There's a lot of different candidates, so you need to just move on from there. That I mentioned, like up to 3, even 4 years old, 5 years old, you need to recognize that that child is going to need that father in their life. They're going to need to have both parents in their life, and that child is going to require a lot of care. That child is going to require a lot of attention from their father. So you need to, one, not try to make him choose between his child and you, and just make sure that you are sensitive to that. In terms of 4 and 5 years old, I would say let that man do what he needs to do as a parent. And if you're someone who thinks you're going to try to step in the way of him communicating with the child's mother, then you may have some growing to do, because that is going to be a requirement. If you're not somebody that thinks that you can handle that you don't want another woman in your guy's life, then move on. Do not date a man who has a child that in that age range, whether infant status, I would say even up to elementary school, honestly. When it goes beyond, like when it goes to middle school and beyond, I would say maybe that's a time that you can consider it. But keep in mind that he's going to have to be in that child's life regardless. When you date somebody who has a child, keep in mind you have to consider all of the factors. When you start dating him, keep in mind that it could be a possibility that something could happen, and if he doesn't have full custody, he could end up having full custody one day. If you're prepared for that, if you be open to that, if you be open to welcoming this innocent child into your household and in your life, then proceed. If you would not be open to that, you prefer that the child stays away, that the child stays with the mother, you're only wanting to build a home with just you and the person that you end up with, that's fine, but that person is not for you, because that man is going to come with his children. And one of the good things that I would say about potentially dating somebody who has a child, depending on how it occurred, is you can see how they will treat you in the future if the relationship doesn't work out with you. So me personally, I feel if I'm a little bit traditional in that sense. If a man impregnated a woman, of course it takes 2, and they didn't stick around, they didn't make it work, I look at that person as, not too high quality, because that's your child, that's starting a family, and I feel if you put in that effort to make a child, you should put in the effort to make the relationship work, wherever the cookie crumbles. Some may say that, well, it didn't work out, like I'm not gonna stick around, I still love my child. Well, no, because that's, just keep in mind, ladies, if you go for a man like that who didn't decide to make it official with the last person who had his child, just know he's most likely going to do the same to you, probably, just because, you know, that's in his nature. You've seen the evidence. If you want to proceed, go right along. But it's not a good idea in my opinion. You know, just continue to love yourself and just know what's best for you. If he made one woman a single mother, multiple women a single mother, then it will probably happen to you as well. But so proceed with caution. If, for instance, it's a man, he has several children, or he has one child and he was married previously, at least you know that he potentially wanted to make it work with someone, not 100%, but that gives you a good indicator that, okay, like he feels responsible towards someone who has his child. But not to say that means that he wouldn't divorce you if you married him, or that he would marry you if you became pregnant before being married. But it gives you a good idea that he has a sense of responsibility. He understands about marriage. But yeah, overall I would say if you're in your mid-20s and you don't have any children of your own and you are looking to be married one day, I would recommend, this is not to offend anyone, I would recommend that you look for a man who also doesn't have children. Of course, there's ladies out there who have so much love to give and they want to open their heart to a family, or maybe that they can't have children of their own. That's completely different, you know, proceed. But just keep in mind, if you're going to date a man who has children, you need to accept those children with all of your heart. Accept them as if you were their own mother, and you should be prepared to be a stepmother. You cannot overstep the actual mom if she's alive, of course. You can't try to replace their mother if she's not alive. However, you need to accept those children. There's cases, I'm sure you're aware of, where the woman begins to mistreat the children and she takes things out on those children. If that's you, please leave that man alone, leave his kids alone. But if you do want to date someone who has children, you're going to have to accept those children as if they were your own. You can't not be open to them. You can't think that all the man's resources are going to stay within your household, because they're not. They should go out to his kids. He was responsible for those children before he met you, and he needs to take care of his children. Another thing, if you see a man, he has children, and you're looking for someone who's not going to be active in that child's life, just know if you were to proceed with him, he will do the same to you. So that's a good indicator. If you see that he's not really trying to care for his kids, he's not trying to send any resources to their mother, he doesn't really want to see the kids, then that's an indicator that that's not somebody you should proceed with. And of course, it's a case-by-case basis. So once again, if you're somebody who has a lot of love to give and you know you would be fine with it, then sure, go ahead. But I would say, just in general, if you don't have any children of your own, you're in your mid-20s, maybe up to 30, early 30s as well. If you want to also have your first child with your husband, I would say I wouldn't recommend you dating a man with children. There are plenty of men who don't have children in that age range, definitely in their 20s. But when you start getting into early 30s and beyond, it's more likely for men to have a child. However, stick to your standards. In terms of the question again, in terms of dating a man with a child who's 5 or younger, I would actually say, unless the child is in middle school or above. But that's just mainly because the child at that age and beyond is going to need the father in their life. But if you're growing a relationship, it may be a little bit difficult when the man has to care for those children so much, because they are young, they need him, and they need to be raised by him, and you shouldn't want that to happen. And once again, if the mom is trying to work it out with him, I would suggest you move along and find someone else, because this man, let him at least try to work it out with her. Because if you were in that situation, you would want to be able to try to work it out. A lot of times, let's say the man is not interested in the woman anymore, but if a woman has had a child by a man, she really wants to make it work and at least have some sympathy and empathy for that. that man is not the only man in this world. You can easily move on. It is a little bit more difficult for her because she already has a child, because the same way I'm telling you that if you're in your 20s and maybe early 30s, you can stick to that standard and not date a man who has children. That's the same way that men are looking at a woman who has a child or more. You know, if they don't have children of their own, they're looking for a woman. Sometimes, obviously, there's men who are going to be great stepfathers and they are, you know, looking to do that. I would recommend that, you know, that whoever that you do keep in mind about who it is you're communicating with, and that you give them a chance if you also have a child of your own. You know, I know it's not easy, like if you are a single parent, so this is nothing to say anything against you, but I highly recommend that if you have a child of your own, it would probably be wise, depending on what your child's age is. If your child is old enough, like maybe I would say high school age. I know it's probably wouldn't be easy to last that long depending on who you are, but you want to focus on your children. I would say if your child is old enough, then yeah, definitely consider a man who has children. And also keep in mind, I can talk about this in another video, but I personally think if you have children of your own and the man also has children, especially if they're like living with him, then I think it's more likely that he would be safe to have around your children. Obviously, would vet him and take a really long time before you introduce your children. And long time, I'm talking about even upwards of a year, depending on your child's age. I would say if he has children of his own, that's probably less likely that he's going to be unsafe for your kids. Not saying that he's automatically safe because he has children in his household, but that's just the way I see things, because he has a responsibility to his own children. But I hope this helped. Once again, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong if you have children. However, I am saying if you have children of your own, you should probably be open to a man who has children. If you don't have children of your own and you're seeking somebody who also doesn't have children, that's okay. But as you get a little bit older, be more realistic. If you're in your 40s, mid 40s, that's going to be less likely. I would say once a man hits his mid 30s and beyond, depending on what demographic you're a part of, it's likely that he's either had children, whether out of wedlock or through marriage and divorce. So let me know if you have any questions. I really want to be able to answer more of your questions and kind of guide you and give you my perspective on things. I hope this video was helpful to someone. But yes, in terms of, it was more of a complicated question in terms of dating someone, a man who has a child that's 5 years or below. And any men who are watching, if you want my perspective on whether or not you should date a woman who has children, let me know, because I think my response to that is going to be a little different. Hope you have a wonderful day and stay blessed. Bye-bye.